Hey guys, remember Metal Gear Solid? Remember?
Behind D, a surveillance camera, liquid.
Remember when he gets in a cardboard box? Look, Metal Gear Solid is a funny game. Everyone who plays video games knows Metal Gear Solid's memes, even if they've never touched the game itself. And that, sadly, seems to be the typical experience people have with the game. Everyone has a wry remark about cardboard boxes, but very few people know anything about the game or why it's so beloved. So in this short video, I'd like to explain why, 20 years on, despite all the high-budget sequels and even a much more modern remake, I still find the original PS1 version of Metal Gear Solid to be the best game in the series and one of my all-time favorite games. To me, Metal Gear Solid's appeal can be summed up in one word: atmosphere. But since that's a bit vague, let's add a descriptor: oppressive. Everything about the game is menacing, weird, alienating, designed to make you feel small and weak and question everything around you, and it all begins with the very first thing the game throws at you. This uncanny vocal part, soaked in reverb, sets the stage for what is one of the most strange and haunting soundtracks in video game history. It's not just beautifully arranged and composed, it's chock full of incredible touches of sound design, like the sounds you hear in the hallway before the fight with Robot Ninja.
It's a ghost.
Or the sounds bosses make when they're hit. But my favorite is still the simple yet incredibly effective music that plays as you navigate Shadow Moses' gaunt halls. This excellent sound design is complemented by art design that's just concentrated cold steel. The game takes place in Antarctica, in 3 buildings connected by open air sections, and it's an excellent summertime game because there's a palpable coldness to the game's environments. The textures are clean and clinical, and while that's no doubt partly due to the PS1's graphical limitations, much like Silent Hill with its fog, MGS is great at taking those limits and making the best of them. Except when it comes to, well, faces. Seriously, what's up with everyone's eyes? But these audio-visual aspects can't be fully appreciated in isolation. They wouldn't be this effective bolted onto just any other game. Metal Gear Solid is a stealth game, where enemies are strong, fast, and, while not terribly unrelenting, can still easily finish you off if you're spotted. I've heard a lot of people complain that the game's stealth is only based on line of sight, which is weird because one of the first things the game throws at you is this massive puddle of water that makes a noise that attracts enemies if you step in it.
What was that noise?
But that's what you get when people know more about the game's memes than the actual game. The long, tense stealth sections give way to thrilling, intense boss fights, giving a fantastic sense of ebb and flow to the gameplay. These are cut up by long cutscenes that a lot of people complain about, but I absolutely love them. They feel like rewards for overcoming the game's challenges, giving the player some time to rest and contend with the increasingly strange and paranoia-inducing plot. Indeed, the story plays perfectly into the game's hostile and alienating atmosphere. Presented as a standard hostage rescue, instead both of the men protagonist Solid Snake is sent to save die under mysterious circumstances after talking to him, their deaths horrifying and yet completely non-graphic. Then, a game that was hitherto mostly grounded in reality, with some rather subtle sci-fi mixed in, fully embraces the fantastic, as it introduces a robot ninja and a floating gas-masked illusionist with little explanation or even comment. Metal Gear Solid is also shamelessly and explicitly political, discussing real-world political entities and ideas with a clarity and bluntness that's refreshing even today. The discussion of nuclear power and geopolitics against the backdrop of a game already fraught with insecurity and loneliness further accentuates their seriousness, both with regards to the in-game situation as well as the real-world implications. That's not to say that Metal Gear Solid is beyond criticism. While I love the lengthy cutscenes, it often feels like a lot of dialogue is only there because of the complete lack of faith the game has in its players. Take this scene where, instead of Otacam saying, "Hey Snake, the other stealth suits in my lab are missing, so there are probably some invisible enemies around, watch out," they have this 2-minute long Kodak conversation where you can almost see the gears in their heads turn as they slowly try to figure this one out. Or how about what is supposed to be the biggest twist in the game, where Miller turns out to be Liquid Snake, but this is kinda completely obvious from the first moment because he looks like him and sounds like him and is clearly him? But I suspect you'll find enough of this cynicism elsewhere. In truth, Metal Gear Solid is one of these games that's smart enough to make its silliness a thing of brilliance. It's so weird that everything it messes up just kinda adds to the charm and effectiveness of everything else it's throwing at you.
And with that struggle, a new spirit of nationalism has been born.
A lot of people hold up the Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid's 2004 remake, as a superior alternative to playing the original, and I don't like it. Beyond the notorious dude bro direction of the cutscenes, it just feels very hollow. I won't go into a review of the Twin Snakes here, but as with a lot of remakes, I find there's a fundamental flaw in trying to force novel mechanics on existing level design. It makes too many parts of the game, designed with the old mechanics in mind, too trivial, and all you're doing is bumping up PS1 graphics to GameCube graphics, with less interesting voice acting to boot. Which reminds me, the voice acting! I forgot to mention how much I love it. Not even necessarily the performances themselves, some are better than others, but probably due to hardware limitations again, it has this sick compression applied to it that just makes it so pleasant to listen to. I can't explain it, it's like all-time radio, just buttery smooth.
Okay, let me try to stay the hell out of my way.
You're a real bastard, just like my uncle said.
Huh, I told you, the real me is no match for the legend.
It looks like you were right.
It's perfectly acceptable to play the game on easy, mostly because it always is, but even more so with Metal Gear Solid, whose easy mode is the same as the game's original Japanese version. But I enjoyed most on hard, which takes away the radar. It makes navigating some sections of the game incredibly difficult, but I enjoyed it quite, listening to the music, studying the guards' patrol patterns, and slowly making my way through this cold, evil military base that I've come to feel very at home at. I'm not a fan of Extreme, though the only thing that does is make the boss fights an absolute slog. And so, if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid yet, I hope I managed to convince you to give it a chance. If you're a longtime fan, on the other hand, I hope I managed to capture some of what you love about this game. And if you're in that third category of people who played Metal Gear Solid but didn't like it, I'm not sure why you stuck through this video, but hey, I appreciate it all the same. Thanks for watching, and please let me know what you think in the comments. Oh, and just in case anyone wants to claim that the only reason I'm so defensive of this game is nostalgia, I first played Metal Gear Solid in 2013.